Urban Meyer was at Mar-a-Lago. We'll get to that in a second.
We will.
Yeah, because I want to talk about what happened this weekend with Kelsey Grammer as well. Kelsey Grammer, Frazier was at Mar-a-Lago, and a lot of people were shocked by this and probably ought not be. But one of the great joys of what is happening these days in just everyone fighting with everyone else is somebody shows up for a party at Mar-a-Lago and takes a picture with two women like Kelsey Grammer does, and then gets dragged on the internet in a way that I learn things biographically about Kelsey Grammer that I didn't know just by following the dragging all over the place. I had no idea that he produced Girlfriends. I had no idea that that was so. I didn't know that he helped produce The Color Purple. I also didn't know that he was accused by an ex-wife of raping, I believe, a 15-year-old babysitter. I learned about Kelsey Grammer's career as people were saying you haven't had much of a career, but I don't think you can say that about him. His past also. I learned a couple of half-brothers died in a scuba accident, lost his mom, I think, lost his sister and his father to murders.
What?
Yeah, this is what I'm learning about the biography as a guy shows up at a party. And when you show up at this party, you're saying something about yourself to the world.
Yeah. How appreciative of Urban Meyer is Bill Belichick? Because all I saw was Urban Meyer, and then people were like, hey, no, greatest head coach of all time is there too.
Somehow, without Brady and Belichick ever having talked about that, they managed one of the many amazing things about the Patriot way, and this is a place that had a murderer on the roster, has had a lot of scandal, 20 years of dominance, 22 years of dominance that is unseen in the sport and just hypnotizing in the modern age. As good an organization as you have ever seen in the age of celebrity and spotlight. You don't get to be private. You don't keep opinions to yourself. And if there's a hat in your locker, we're going to ask you about it. Super famous, and yet you really don't know where Belichick and Brady stand on much of anything. And somehow he goes to the same party that Kelsey Grammer and Urban Meyer go to, and it doesn't land the same way about what it is that you're saying about yourself. And he doesn't have to explain himself. Just somehow, it really is a marvel when you think about how much has changed in the world about fame in 20 years, and that these two guys have been able to keep that private. And no matter how close we want to get to any of it, and as Tom Brady controls the content with Gotham Chopra and his wife telling you the story, Chopra telling you the story the way they want to tell you it, you don't know how these guys feel about anything for real. They've been able to hide behind that curtain of the Patriot way. And we won't know unless they decide to tell us. It really is something to behold.
I mean, Brady wore the hat, right?
We just had it in his locker. He had it in his locker. It wasn't even that, but we were parsing even that. You know how this oven scalds anybody these days. It's amazing that those two guys, like, they haven't been swallowed. Aaron Rodgers got swallowed. Kyrie Irving got swallowed. Like, they didn't know what was coming. They didn't know it was going to look like all of that. And I'm not saying that Brady and Belichick are checking those boxes, but we don't know what boxes they check. We really don't. We don't know much about them. They have shown us nothing, and I can't believe they've been able to do it. I really am just awed by it.
Is it just going to the property, or is it going to the property when Donald Trump is there? Because that feels like a cosign. I remember when Ric Flair did an event at Mar-a-Lago for his friend Herschel Walker. I was like, ooh. No.
Yeah. That one's been happening to a lot. I can't believe that I've arrived in my 50s with my relationship with sports. And you've heard it over the years be like, I'm not emotional about any of this stuff. It's all storytelling, content, nonsense. Let's have fun in the circus. Can you believe we get to do any of this? As an adult male, to be disappointed like I'm a child by my heroes, like I'm somebody with baseball cards in my bicycle spokes, where I'm like, oh man, come on, Frazier, God damn it!
Frazier.
God damn it, Frazier!
You can still be a fan of his, can't you?
I know, but this is the stuff we're talking about, though. Can you be? We just talked about this. I don't know anymore. Like, I want to appreciate the art and the work, and I want to be the person who unemotionally says, and I don't care what the person is. It doesn't matter. I've been saying that about athletes forever. Like, quit making them your heroes. Raise your own kids. Like, quit making them role models. Don't do that. They're just people who happen to, catch balls well.
Trump changed everything, though, in this country. I'm thinking of growing up, and a generation ago, 2 generations ago, if you were a Jimmy Carter voter and an athlete was said to be at a Ronald Reagan party, it was not a scandal. It was not a news story. We didn't have the political divide that Trump created. And he did create it. It was never like this in my lifetime until Trump took office and since. So that's what's amazing about it, is that it's not the athlete story. It's how Trump has polarized everything.
There are many parts of it that are amazing. And one of them is that Brady and Belichick, in the age of we know everything about you and we're up in your business and privacy is an illusion, everywhere from the phone that might be tracking you. Privacy is an illusion, that 2 guys at the very top of sports celebrity and transcendent public name knowing in this country, representing a team called the Patriots. Even that phrase is something that we'll argue about. Even that phrase, Patriots, means something different now. That they would be at the center of America's most popular sport, that they would own it and dominate it and conquer it and be smarter and better than everyone else fighting for money and fame and glory in the gladiator arena. And they got to keep their politics to themselves. And they got to keep their politics to themselves. And this is the one I always notice and can't help but notice. When you've made your money largely with the help of black friends, teammates, employees, colleagues in that huddle, that's the Trump divide, where I look at Lou Holtz and Urban Meyer and I'm like, man, you're endorsing a candidate here who is actively fomenting racism and bring, like, not that we need any help for it to be in our face, but it's been brought to the forefront. And now you've got a far right that has inherited a political party that is now based on hate and is more extreme than it's ever been. And the racism and others are bad. They're coming for the white stuff. The whites are threatened. The privilege is threatened. That's more overt and in your face than it's ever been. And somehow Belichick and Brady lip sealed.
Yeah. Is Urban Meyer, is it endorsement if you just show up? Like, Lou Holtz did, like, campaigning. Like, he was, like, on the RNC floor. Is Urban Meyer campaigning for
Maybe
Donald Trump?
Maybe there can be degrees of that.
Or is he going up to, like, if a former president invites you to a soiree,
I'm just interested to check this out kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's benefit of the doubt, though.
I'll be honest.
Let's see what this is all about.
I've had moral conflicts.
You know what it's all about.
I went to a wedding at the Trump Doral property, and as part of the wedding, I didn't want to go there. Didn't want to have to go there.
It was an open bar.
No, I couldn't say no to the wedding. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I had to go to this wedding.
That's different, though, than a party.
Yeah. I didn't have to play the golf course, but I did.
They had crab
cakes.
cakes.
You're just showing up to a hotel with his name on
They
it.
had crab
That's
cakes
okay.
there.
Honestly, I did have a guilty conscience about playing the golf course. And then I saw a former athlete who hosted Obama for a fundraiser at his home, also playing the same golf course.
Felt
I'm
better?
like,
Yeah.
I think I'm better. Yeah, I did feel better.
On like the 7th crab cake, you're like, I don't feel that bad about this, though.
I certainly like to overthink things, but these things have become wearying to overthink on all of my decision making.
I was exhausted. Mike Schur, in his book, talks about moral fatigue. And I'm like, I feel like I voted for the right person. I feel like I use a platform to speak against this. Do I not go to this wedding on some principle? Do I not order a cocktail with this logo on it?
But this is where families have been divided. It's not our country. It's the world. It's not just everyone else. It's families. It's loved ones. It's all this, all of the judgments and moralizing. I feel like we know people better over the last 2 years and 5 years and 10 years, even in our own family,
Yes.
then we knew them before. And in some places, we get the same disappointments that we get with Aaron Rodgers and everybody else on both sides, where they're looking at you and you're like, how could you stand for this dumb shit? And you're looking at them and it's like, how could you stand for this dumb shit?
Right. It has split apart families, and mine is one of them. And it also changes conversation. We socialize with a couple, and she is a Republican, and we don't talk politics when we're out to dinner. That is off.
But you can still
limits.
be friends. I feel like that's
And we
important.
are.
As
You're
you
right.
It's
said.
just harder.
It
It's
changes
harder
the
and
narrative,
It's
though.
harder. It's less interesting and less honest. That's all.
Right.
Now you just talk behind their back.
I've always done that. I mean,
I would also say that there is like that has like like the Carter Reagan example that you used, that has always existed. All that the Trump era has done is brought those things to the fore. And so like they did more subtle, very racist things in politics before, but you didn't have to kind of encounter them in the same way, whereas now Trump bringing it to explicit language as opposed to, well, you know, we'll do a rally in a town in Mississippi that's affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan. Like, I think what I'm trying to say is that this has always existed. You just didn't have to make choices on that basis because it wasn't so obvious and out there.
but this is weird where you're watching where Tom Brady's going to build a house in Miami because he's building one right next to Ivanka Trump. I mean, so you start asking yourselves questions, right? It's weird. Like, why can't he just move?
Where's he going to build a $15 million house? Tom Brady's not moving to Westchester.
No, he's moving to Indian River, I think.
know, but that's where
Opelika.
rich people live, that you can build $15
No,
million houses.
That's what I'm saying, but he's getting a lot of
Plenty
grief
of
for
places
it.
to build $15 million houses in Miami.
So we are reading into.
Well, just
Yes.
Stugotz, because it's the latest thing he called up on the internet because he wants to be a part of this conversation. Like that's
Well, no, and my wife brought it up to me a week ago. I said, that's a bad look. And then I'm thinking to myself, is it really a bad look? He's just moving. He's
Okay.
building a house.
The big takeaway from this photo is Bill Belichick takes some hacks with his suits. He's got like a checkered pink suit on here. It looks good, but it's just not. It's more of a hack than I expected.
I want to go inside the belly of the show here for a second because you mentioned suits and it made me mad at Stugotz all over
What
again.
happened?
Because you brought in a suit today, but you're not wearing it. And I'd just like to know where we are with the penalty on you serving one of the 10 grid of death punishments you owe, and doing a week with a suit. You brought in a suit today. I saw it, but you're not wearing it.
I'm getting to him.
Okay, very good.
I brought a suit in, one suit a day I'll bring in this week, and I'm gearing up for suit week next week. That way I have the suits. They're here. They're on a rack. I walk in the morning. I put a suit on. I take it off when I leave. Boom.
You can't bring 4 at a time. You don't want to bring 4 at a
I
time.
can
Suit
only
week,
do one
Dano.
at a time, Dan. Yeah.
One at a time. You're gonna.
4 suits. You're assuming I have 4. I
But
mean,
why bring it and not put it on?
what?
Why bring it and not put it on?
I mean, I'm just stacking them up, inventory. So I can, you're not going to get a full week if I start today. Next week, you get the full week. You get Tuesday, you get
I'm
Wednesday.
so confused by your
You
logic.
get Thursday. I'm bringing one suit at a time.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Looking
you brought
forward
in
to
one
it.
suit. You could also bring in one suit at a time whilst wearing the suit.
You could also put on a suit
That's-
when getting ready for work in the morning, as many millions of Americans do.
A little too much work. I mean, carrying the suit, putting it on before the show. I'm not going
Yeah.
to do that.
Terrible.
Okay. When they're here, I will put them on. And next week, they'll all be here. All 3 of them. I think.
I'd like to bring in a suit for you to wear.
I'll have to rewear one, though. I mean,
I have an olive green suit that I've worn once in my life because I grew to hate the color, but that would look beautiful on you.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
would.
Bring it in, please.
Yeah.
For
I will.
Tuesday. Maybe you can wear
Yeah.
it Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday suit. How about that?
If it's
Suit
day,
week, Dano.
I'll wear it.
I want to take people into the underbelly of the show for a second here before we get back to the regularly scheduled silliness. We will be gearing up here. It was a test run during the Super Bowl to get our video department up and running. We are still very much the underdog. Lise and Tony trying to carry us into the future on their shoulders as we build the company and the video part of this out. And we're trying to get to a day where we are live on video more often and more consistently than we are now. But there were some glitches last week, and we will continue to test stuff. But one of the reasons we can't do this quicker is, for example, because it was decided, hey, in the middle of all this, let's also do a musical.
Huh?
And during the taping around everything that we're doing here, I've seen any number of funny things in the taping of that musical, but I don't think I've seen anything funnier than what I just saw happening in the two rooms, and the two rooms making evident that Cody and Stugotz are wonderfully bad actors, and that the worse they are, the better it is. And they just had to have some. I'm not going to give away too much here, Mike, because you've been working with
Very
JT for a
careful.
long time, and everybody around here is running around with their hair on fire because we decided, hey, in the middle of all this, let's also do a musical for some reason. But I just saw you taping with Greg and Stugotz, and their acting was the worst I've ever seen.
Really?
And you seem to really like. You really liked
nice.
that it was bad. And I love that one of the exchanges I heard was after their acting was really bad, Stugotz started dancing around the room. That's right, one take wonder. And Chris Cody said it was 4 takes. And we just took the
Not
best,
my fault, though. I mean,
the best of the worst
Yeah.
ones.
We'll clean it up in post.
Damn right.
I felt good about my performance.
I thought it was brilliant.
But that's why I was laughing, because you thought he was brilliant. You felt good about your performance, and the entire time you were doing it, Chris Cody was saying, "My God, they're such terrible actors. Like, just they're so incredibly bad at acting. Like they're trying to do dialogue here as if it's natural, and it's just they're clearly stiff and winded and wheezing
No.
and not emotional. And in post production, it'll sound operatic.
Too loud.
Why would I be good at it? I mean,
I mean, it's just talking to Greg. I don't know. It's like, I mean,
It was great. I thought we both nailed it.
yeah, thank you.
Nailed it.
This bit of exposition is what bridges a Stugotz number to a Greg Cody number. And Greg is very excited to record this number today, and I am so happy to have someone match my enthusiasm for this project.
I'm
I've
excited.
been longing for it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Been waiting for this.
Yeah.
You were also excited because the news just came in, and I'm guessing that you feel very bad that Jessica is working on other projects at the moment and isn't here today. But the news just came in that allowed Mike to roar with laughter in the other room that Al Golden has taken a prominent position with Jessica Smetana's Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Oh, brother. Wow.
Al Golden.
The Golden Dome.
Al Golden, you did a tremendous job with those Cincinnati Bengals linebackers. It's a shame that one of those linebackers blew the game on that pass interference call that was well within the rules of the game on Cooper Kupp. Damn shame. I am very happy that you have completed this slow climb back up to a prominent job in the game that has missed you so dearly, college football.
I am telling you right now, and it's an underreported story, but we will stamp our claim here and we will crush everybody, all comers on this podcast front, because nobody ever anywhere else in America right now is here to tell you that Stafford's jump from guy who's lost for a million years to Hall of Famer in a day, less impressive than what Al Golden just did on his rehab stint of just being a laughing joke from Detroit. He's done more in rebounding from Detroit than Stafford has, because he went to Detroit after we just laughed him out of town here, and he sued the university, and what was he, like a tight ends coach for
Tight ends coach. And
Dan Campbell, and now he's making his way back, and now Jessica's stuck with him.
now he's calling defense, in which when he was a Miami head coach, his defense had linebackers in like a 4-point stance 7 yards off the ball.
Against Georgia Tech's triple option.
It was
He was upgraded to linebackers coach for the Lions. Just so you know.
This is going to be great. This is going to be great content. I am very happy about this, and I'm very happy Al Golden has landed on his feet after losing that lawsuit to the University of Miami.
Speaking of great content, Simmons and Harden just walking around radiant in their new relationships has been it has been funny to watch.
Give it time with Ben Simmons, okay? Spend some time around Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. Let me know how that goes. Seriously.
Fair enough, but he looked happy.
Think Embiid is bad.
And Howard Eskin did the Philadelphia thing. And
I mean, Howard Eskin did the thing that a lot of people are doing. I think
Howard
Stugotz-
Eskin is still doing the thing?
Yeah, if there's something happening in Philadelphia, Howard Eskin's going to it, and it's hopefully is. I don't even really blame Howard Eskin, right? He should know better. He's of a time. That's no excuse. But the more we normalize conversation about mental health, the more people will get educated that workplace environment matters. If you are triggered by your workplace environment and you move workplace environments, it could go a long way in boosting your mental health. Ben Simmons could have had a pleasant month because he wasn't in that facility. If he was in that facility, who knows how long it would take before he could be active.
But this is the big change. You're asking Philadelphia and Howard Eskin, you're asking a dinosaur generation, really, to show empathy and compassion for the sensitive, soft millionaire who just robbed the Sixers, and I don't care about your mental health, kid. And you did short circuit in a way that we haven't seen an athlete on a court do. Afraid to shoot. I don't care about your mental health, kid. Get out of here. He flees town in a way that's wildly unprofessional, leaving behind whatever those work relationships were with Embiid and everyone else because he just fled on his teammates and couldn't be counted on at the most important time.
Wait a second. It was pretty unprofessional of Doc Rivers and Embiid to come out after a lousy game and say what they said about Ben Simmons.
They hurt his feelings as well, and this is how we navigate the mental health stuff. You want to have a mental health conversation in sports? You want to have it the way Kevin Love does it and DeMar DeRozan do it in the Players Tribune? Or you want to have the actual conversation of how that's going to land on Doc Rivers when you've hurt his ability to keep his job because now, hey, maybe it'll be D'Antoni and Morey reinventing Harden again, and Doc won't get the next great job. And yeah, he's probably hurt and doesn't want to hear about Ben Simmons' mental health, where Doc comes from. Where Doc comes from in the sport,
Right.
maybe he does want to hear about the mental health. Maybe he does want to care deeply about the feelings of 20-year-olds that are making their way in and out of the Kardashian family with all of the distortions that you get there with James Harden and, you've got Tristan Thompson. That's been a vortex for, let me go get that fame, let me see what it does, and Lamar Odom is in total crisis. And I don't know whose fault it is, but there's been a lot of crud there with young people, and Ben Simmons in and out of relationship, loser in college, even though he was number one. Couldn't make NIT. LSU had like 14 wins. Everyone knew he was a great talent. Undisputed. Consensus. This guy's going to be great. LSU doesn't win a thing. An epic embarrassment for someone with that kind of talent. Gets to Philadelphia. Process here. 10 years of Philadelphia cruelty, suffering in this sport. We want to be relevant again. We're Dr. J's town. We've got Embiid, process, suffering, embarrassment, laughing at us. We're very close. Embiid, that giant crying on the court. Oh, God damn it, Kawhi takes it from us. That close. That close. Ben Simmons will fix it. All he's got to do is shoot, not be afraid to shoot. Don't be afraid to shoot. Oh, shit. Get the fuck out of town. Everybody, the city, everybody. Like, what the hell? Must be hard for Ben Simmons to sleep at night when he runs away like that and wants to be comforted. And we don't want to have the mental health conversation for real. I don't know what Ben Simmons comes from. I don't know what his imprinting is, his scarring, his patterns. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what his brain chemistry is. I know that I've seen very few times in 30 years doing this an athlete have that happen to him where I can say, oh, he's scared. He's scared. He doesn't feel supported, and then he fled, ran from the premises, short-circuited mentally, tells you it's mental health, he needs care, and then we argue about it.
Very few times you've seen a player do that, not shoot the ball, be scared in a game, and very few times you've heard a coach criticize him for doing it after the game, and his best player.
Okay, and we can take sides.
And a guy that was his friend.
You can take sides on whether – you can take absolute sides. Okay, but you can take absolute sides on both of these. I ride 100% with Ben Simmons and mental health, or I ride 100% with Doc Rivers' Philadelphia organization. Be a professional. Don't care about your mental health. I'm telling you that we're right now bridging that gap of all of those people, and Ben Simmons is going to be like the epicenter of it, where we've got, today's athlete is more sensitive or more open or more transparent, and you're going to have to learn to deal with it because in that sport, they've just gotten awfully strong. Those contracts are big, and here's your salary cap, and now you're tying yourself up in some Hardens and some Irvins, and they're taking over your economies and your teams, and Philadelphia just ran him out of town because he was betrayed. He betrayed what they wanted, and now I don't know if Ben Simmons' mind is right or healthy or happy or workplace environment is going to fix him or your cynicism is going to win, and he's just an unprofessional asshole brat who's wasting millions. But I hope Ben Simmons comes back with a whole lot of fuck you for Philadelphia. Like, I hope he's hell-bent on rage and teams up with these guys and now comes for Embiid and Harden and has to defend some of that on the perimeter. And hell-bent on, like, this hurt, you hurt me. I needed help. I was soft. I was frail. I broke apart, and you criticized me, and now he comes for Embiid. Or he's not tough enough, and Embiid is 40-point guy, and a shot at the buzzer knocks him out the way Kawhi Leonard does.
I want to see that series so bad.
Sports.
Yeah.
It'd be so good, that series.
Seriously. I might be rooting for Kevin Durant. I mean,
But isn't the construct of sports what you're talking about there? Like, you're basically saying that him not being tough in a big moment hurts him mentally. Him being criticized by his own fans hurts him mentally. You're basically saying that the current construct of sports is a mentally fraught place, which it is. So what is the solution to that? Is the solution to, like, tell Howard Eskin or Stugotz to stop criticizing him because you're hurting your own player? Is it to
Come on,
tell...
snowflake.
No.
Shut up, you soft snowflake. What do you mean I can't criticize the player's performance when he's in his early 20s and he just choked?
But you're not helping.
No,
What
you're not
presumes,
helping. You
what
could
presumes
be.
they care to help, though?
You don't think Ben Simmons, in his mind, if he's going through this, and I know some people are venturing out there with the take that he's faked all of this because he just didn't want to play there anymore. I would bet my life on that not being true. I mean, you could look at what he experienced after he passed up on that layup and how his teammates and head coach and how he was treated on social media, and know certifiably that affects mental health. To what degree? I guess that's where people like Howard Eskin could poke holes in. But I guarantee you, throughout that process, Ben Simmons was probably telling himself that too. Like, you're letting this get to you? Come on, push through. Snowflake. He doesn't need Howard Eskin to pile on.
Oh, but to me, this is why this is so fascinating. Because in that sport, what you've been rewarded over for a long period of time before DeRozan and Kevin Love said, okay, you want to see more of this? Was, no, man, just wear armor, hide it, rub something on it, keep it deep down. Don't show them where you're soft, to articulate your feelings. Daily bumps, darkness, pandemic has made me crazy, whatever. Stuff it down, rub something off it, rub something on it. Or if you're Antonio Brown, you don't even trust the therapist to talk about it as we try and get a little further down this path. This is where the mental health stuff is, because Ben Simmons is a pretty good test case. Wherever you want to argue about this, you just saw something that you're not willing to diagnose as mental health, even though it was a short-circuiting on a court that happened in front of us that was really unusual. So if you're not willing to grant that he might be weak in that moment, then you're just not interested in the things that make him human and what make human performance reach those levels when we're talking about real mental toughness, where all the other competitive guys around you are now seeing that weakness. And he can't face his old Philadelphia teammates, can't face them, can't go back to them, doesn't want to be on the premises, just flees everything. How good are you guys, the audience and everyone I'm talking to in the other room here, how good are you with you guys seeing all the humanity of your athletes? Because this is the process that we've gone through with making these guys stars, making them more accessible by social media than they've ever been, allowing all of our tentacles to get all over them, photographing Ben Simmons in the club as he dates in his early 20s, trying to figure stuff out. Where's his mental health at, and can you trust it in a salary cap sport where you're giving him a max contract and the entire process is on his shoulders and you're asking him not to break apart when Joel Embiid is crying on the way to the locker room and they need one extra step to get past Kawhi Leonard?
I'd rather know less than more, to be honest with you, because, now I'm hesitant to call Ben Simmons a choker the next time he chokes.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You called Joe
I
Burrow.
am.
You called Joe Burrow a choker.
Well, he can handle
yesterday.
it, Joe, until he tells me otherwise. I mean,
You called him a choker yesterday. This is not going to change. You're not going to get Philadelphia to be less cruel about this. But this is the fascinating stuff in sports. The real human stuff that tells you the larger stories, because I don't know. Maybe Ben Simmons was faking the whole thing, or maybe his unhappiness contributed to a dark place in his mental health.
As mental health and sports intersect and becomes more common to have mental health issues in sports, we're going to have more of this conversation, which is mental health a excuse for all behavior? Or is something you do under the umbrella of mental health fair to criticize? And that's something that is going to happen a lot more, where, initially you want to have all sympathy for someone with mental health issues because it must be a tremendous weight. But does that excuse everything? Are you allowed to quit on your team? Are you allowed to do what Antonio Brown did? You know what I mean?
Well, the answer to your question on Ben Simmons is yes, you're allowed, because he just did it and ended up in a happier situation. In that sport, he has the power.
he got rewarded for it.
In that sport, he has the power to do it. It's a little harder in Antonio Brown's sport.
But Simmons is criticized for it as well.
He doesn't get to do it scot-free. No,
Right.
There's no such thing as you get to do it and everyone's applauding because they're kind and they're
Right.
empathetic and they can see your weakness and they can be trusted with your vulnerability. No,
Right.
some people are going to be jerks about it, but there's the divide. Like that's the thing we're bridging right now, and it's where Doc Rivers steps in it, where he doesn't realize he's hurting a young man's feelings, sensitive feelings, when Doc Rivers doesn't come from the time that you can't criticize an athlete after he's just gagged up your entire season at the end of it because he's afraid to shoot.
But isn't what you're saying that you do want people, not that you specifically, or that people want to be okay with someone being unprofessional and struggling in a big spot in sports? Like what you're saying is we need to get to a place where someone can do that and we still go, oh, okay, like you have to do that for your mental health. Like that does break down the construct of sports and what we view as the admirable or superior traits in a star athlete.
The bigger question, though, is do you want your athletes treated as maximum decency you'd extend to a human being you cared about or not? Maximum decency. This is hard, right? It's hard with parenting. We all have...
Yeah, but you don't care about them the same way.
Okay,
Dan.
but they're that kind of valuable to your construct of winning. Like, of course, you don't care about them the way that you care about your kids, but you care about your regional identity in sports in a way that makes you jump up and down at sporting events in a way you didn't in the delivery room. Like, you do care. You're emotionally connected to what that thing is, and the emotional connection has made Philadelphia very angry at Ben Simmons. Maybe some of Philadelphia is talking mental health, but he hurt their feelings. And Ben Simmons is looking at them and saying, you hurt mine. And Philadelphia's like, fuck you. And Ben Simmons is like, fuck you.
By Philadelphia, you mean Howard Eskin, of course, right?
I mean,
He represents all of Philadelphia.
No, I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing Philadelphia hasn't been the kindest. Is that an unreasonable?
That's fair.
I think that's fair. I'm guessing that it hasn't been the most tolerant and empathetic situation.
Right. Imagine that, Philadelphia being mean.
When are they going to hold a Harden? I mean, at least he's playing, though.
Unless he makes him feel good and plays. He hits a few threes.
He'll be a hero.
I mean, but do we want him to be human or do we want him to be heroes? Because I don't know that they could be both. Like, if you want him to really be human and show you all of it, because
Unless they tag Mar-a-Lago.